These are 3 unusual things about blood pressure, and I have to warn you that number 3, your doctor is probably not going to agree with. So I've been in practice for over 25 years, and here's what we're going to discuss. These 3 things that are a little bit of a taboo subject. They're unusual. You're not going to find them on most YouTube channels, but listen till the end because, like I said, there's some controversy over these things. These are unusual. So let's talk about it. Number 1, your blood pressure numbers are a moving target. It's not like your age. So if I'm 54 years old, today I'm 54 years old. Tomorrow, I'm also 54 years old. So that number stays with me and it stays constant. Your blood pressure is not like that. Your blood pressure is a constantly fluctuating, moving target, and this can drive people crazy. Most people don't realize this. They'll check their blood pressure, it'll say 120/80, and they think that they're 120/80 for their entire life. So when you get up in the morning, for most people, your blood pressure is a little bit lower. But for some people, it's higher. But then as you stand up, your blood pressure goes up. If you go into the bathroom to go poop, guess what? Your blood pressure goes up. If you strain too much, your blood pressure can go up and you can faint. But if you take 30 deep breaths, your blood pressure will go down. As soon as you start walking, your systolic number, the first number will go up, but the diastolic will stay normal. Depending on the position of your arm, your blood pressure numbers can be totally different. You can actually have a different blood pressure number depending on whether you cross your legs, whether you're talking, whether you actually have a full bladder, or you just went to the bathroom. Seems to me there's a lot of bathroom talk here. But the point is that the number that you have is not a consistent number. It's going to change throughout the day. The main concern is no matter what, if your blood pressure is always super high, then you've got a problem. But if your blood pressure is always fluctuating, that can be considered somewhat normal. Number 2, stress. Stress is a biggie. That's an unusual consideration when it comes to blood pressure. Now the problem with stress is we really can't measure it in you. We can't see it on an x-ray. You can't see it on an MRI or a CAT scan, blood work, urine analysis. You do all the tests on a person, you can't find out and tell me by the look of someone on an x-ray whether they're stressed. And so stress has this kind of soft science to it where we kind of poo-poo in healthcare stress, but we know that stress in general will release certain hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol, and these things will increase your blood sugar and increase your blood pressure. And of course, those are 2 negative things, and if those things are chronic, repetitive, over time it can damage your blood vessels and lead to high blood pressure. Now the question is, does stress increase blood pressure temporarily, or does stress increase blood pressure permanently? Well, the jury is out and healthcare really hasn't decided yet, and so it's an uncomfortable subject to say, well, wait a minute, if stress increases your blood pressure temporarily, which we know, if you just felt stressed all the time, every day, does that have chronic effects? And there's really just not a whole lot of studies regarding that, but it makes common sense to say that it does. Number 3, and this is the one that your primary care doctor may agree with, but there's always doctors that will disagree with it. And my take on this is this, that the more experienced your doctor is, the more likely he's going to agree with the statement I'm about to say, that your blood pressure numbers might be normal for you. It is not uncommon to have old patients that come in that are almost double my age. I've had patients that are over 100 years old, but that's slightly unusual. But I do have patients that are in their 90s, in their late 80s, and holy cow, that's almost double my age. Isn't the whole point of healthcare to make people live longer? Well, these people made it, and their blood pressure might be 135/84, 132/82, these types of numbers. And you ask these patients, well, gee, I guess according to the standards of today, you have the beginning stages of hypertension. They go, and the patients, they're funny. They'll say, I've had that same blood pressure since I was 20 years old. And it's kind of true. One of the taboo subjects is some people just genetically have high blood pressure. These people aren't on any medications. They've never been on any medications. The only reason they are not on medications is because back in the day, 160/90 was considered high blood pressure, and their numbers aren't considered high blood pressure back then, so they were never on medications. Now, did it shorten their life? Clearly it hasn't. They're in your office. I mean, come on, holy cow. They're in a chiropractic office asking to get adjusted. These are healthy people. So the conundrum is this. There are some people that have high blood pressure, according to the numbers, but they've lived a normal and healthy life. Well, guess what? One of the subjects, the unusual findings is this may be normal for them. And the proof is in the pudding. Very often when you have patients like this and they get a new doctor, and the doctor's usually a younger doctor, and say, well, Mrs. Jones, you have high blood pressure, you need these medications, and they kind of convince the patient to get on them. Suddenly the patient doesn't feel good, they're getting leg pain, they're getting dizzy all the time, they're having fainting spells, and they just feel crappy. As soon as they get off the blood pressure medications, what happens? They feel fantastic again. And that's a clue, usually for most people. And my experience has been in my practice, as well as other colleagues that I've discussed this with, there are some people that just genetically kind of have a little higher blood pressure. It's normal for them. Likewise, we'll often get patients that have low blood pressure, 110/60, and yet they look like they're 60 pounds overweight. They smoke cigarettes, they drink Pepsi, they don't eat anything that doesn't come out of a box or a drive-through. These are not healthy people, but according to the numbers their blood pressure is normal. It takes an experienced physician to know the difference. So if you thought this video was interesting, let me know in the comments section. What's your experience? You let me know in the comments section. What is your normal blood pressure? And if you have taken blood pressure medication, did you feel better? Did you feel worse? Has the blood pressure medication helped you? Let us know in the comments section, because I'm willing to bet that other people are going to read your comment and they might benefit from it. So if you'd like to learn how to reduce your stress with also reducing your blood pressure, hit this video right here in the corner. If you can't see the actual square, turn your phone lengthwise and that little square there will pop up. I think it pops up, I'm not sure. I don't know how these things work anymore. Well, if you're watching on your computer, you see the button, but you know, do the phone. Anyway, I'm gonna go over here.